On the vast steppes of Central Asia, life was harsh, and survival meant strength and loyalty. Here, rival tribes clashed for land, horses, and honor. But in the late 12th century, one man rose above the rest, Temüjin. Born into hardship and betrayal, he endured loss and exile. Yet through courage and vision, he united the Mongol clans, earning the title Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. Under his leadership, a scattered people became one unstoppable force. Temüjin's path to power was not paved with ease. His father's poisoning left his family abandoned and vulnerable, forcing them to struggle for survival. Betrayed by allies and hunted by enemies, he learned to rely on loyalty, discipline, and his unshakable vision of unity. Instead of being broken, hardship became the fire that hardened his resolve. As he grew older, Temüjin proved himself a skilled leader. He rewarded loyalty, punished betrayal, and restructured Mongol society around merit rather than birth. Warriors followed him not just out of fear, but out of respect for his vision of a united steppe. Slowly, clan by clan, ally by ally, he drew the Mongols together. Finally, in the year 1206, the Great Council of Tribes was held. On that day, Temüjin was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. A once divided people now stood united under one banner. It was the birth of an empire, one that would change the course of world history. With the tribes united, Genghis Khan turned his eyes beyond the Mongolian steppes. He envisioned a world bound by order, not chaos. But to achieve this, he needed to conquer. The neighboring kingdoms of northern China looked down on the Mongols as mere nomads, unworthy of respect. Genghis Khan set out to prove them wrong. In the early 1200s, the Mongol army became the most disciplined and mobile fighting force in the world. Genghis Khan organized them into units of tens, hundreds, and thousands, all bound by loyalty and obedience. Communication across vast distances was swift, and their tactics, swift attacks, feigned retreats, and psychological warfare terrified their enemies. By 1215, the Mongols had captured the great Jin capital of Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing. Cities fell one after another as the empire expanded across Asia. Yet Genghis Khan valued more than destruction. He encouraged trade, communication, and the exchange of knowledge across the lands he conquered. The Silk Road flourished under his rule. Despite his conquests, Genghis Khan saw himself as a bringer of order to a fractured world. He established laws known as the Yasa, ensuring fairness among his people. Those who served with honor prospered, while corruption and disloyalty were swiftly punished. For the first time, the vast lands of Asia began to move under a single law. From humble beginnings, Genghis Khan had forged the foundation of one of the greatest empires in human history. The steppe warrior had become a global ruler, feared by his enemies and respected by his followers. Yet, his journey was far from over. Greater challenges and greater victories awaited beyond the horizon. By the early 13th century, the Mongol Empire was ready to surge beyond its homeland. Genghis Khan turned his gaze westward toward the mighty Khwarezm Empire, a powerful Islamic state stretching across Central Asia and Persia. When his trade caravans were seized and his envoys executed, he saw it not as an insult, but as a declaration of war. In 1219, the Mongol army invaded Khwarezm. Swift and relentless, they stormed cities one after another, using strategy and psychological warfare. Towns that resisted were annihilated. Those that surrendered were spared. The Mongols spread fear faster than their arrows, breaking their enemies' will long before battle began. Genghis Khan's strategies were unlike any the world had seen. He used spies and scouts to gather intelligence before every attack. His generals could act independently, communicating through a network of riders that spanned thousands of miles. It was a perfect balance of order and flexibility, an army that moved like a single mind. By 1221, the Khwarezm Empire was crushed. From the Caspian Sea to the Himalayas, cities lay in ruins, and the Mongol banner flew high. Yet even in conquest, Genghis Khan sought to rebuild what he had destroyed. He reopened trade routes, encouraged artisans and scholars to travel freely, and allowed diverse religions to coexist under his rule. Genghis Khan had transformed his people from scattered nomads into the masters of Asia. His empire now stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, a realm larger than any before it. Yet, this was only the beginning. The Mongol storm was far from spent, and soon its thunder would echo across Europe. With Asia under Mongol control, Genghis Khan's armies marched westward. Their next targets were the powerful kingdoms of Eastern Europe and the Islamic world. No force had ever moved so fast or struck with such precision. Villages vanished overnight, and cities surrendered at the mere sight of Mongol banners on the horizon. In 1223, the Mongols clashed with the Kievan Rus at the Battle of the Kulka River. Their tactics were unmatched, pretending to retreat, only to lure their enemies into deadly ambushes. The result was total annihilation. Word of the Mongol onslaught spread across Europe, whispered in fear, an unstoppable army from the east. Even as his armies conquered faraway lands, Genghis Khan remained a ruler, deeply involved in governance. He rewarded merit, enforced the Yasa Code, and demanded discipline from all under his rule. Yet, in 1227, while campaigning against a rebellious kingdom in western China, the great Khan fell ill and died. His death was kept secret, ensuring the army's unity until victory was complete. No one knows where Genghis Khan was buried. Legend says his funeral escort killed everyone who witnessed the procession and rode their horses in circles to erase all traces. His grave remains hidden to this day, a secret lost in the heart of Mongolia. After his death, Genghis Khan's empire was divided among his sons and grandsons. Each inherited a vast territory, together forming the largest contiguous land empire in history. Though the great Khan was gone, his legacy would live on through generations of conquerors, builders, and dreamers who carried his vision to the ends of the earth. After Genghis Khan's death, his legacy did not end, it multiplied. His sons and grandsons carried his vision far beyond the steppes. Ögedei, the third son, became the great Khan and expanded the empire deep into Europe and the Middle East. Batu led fierce campaigns across Russia, founding the Golden Horde. In the east, Kublai Khan would later rise to rule China, and established the Yuan Dynasty. Each descendant of Genghis Khan sought to expand and secure their portion of the empire. Some waged wars, others built cities and promoted trade. Together, they created a realm that connected Europe, the Middle East, and Asia under one vast system of law and commerce. The Mongol name echoed across continents, synonymous with power, order, and ambition. After Genghis Khan's passing, his successors transformed conquest into empire. Under Ögedei, the Mongol dominion stretched from Korea to Eastern Europe, the largest continuous land empire in human history. No border seemed beyond reach, and no kingdom beyond influence. In China, Genghis's grandson Kublai Khan rose to power and founded the Yuan Dynasty. In 1271, he built magnificent cities, welcomed scholars and engineers from every corner of the world, and blended Mongol traditions with Chinese statecraft. Under Kublai, the empire wasn't just feared, it was admired. Trade flourished as never before. Caravan routes thrived, linking east and west in a golden age of exchange. From silk and spices to astronomy and mathematics, ideas traveled farther and faster than ever imagined. From the mid-13th to the early 14th century, the Mongol Empire ushered in an era of peace and prosperity known as the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol Peace. Across Eurasia, trade routes were secured, bandits were punished, and travelers could cross thousands of miles under a single imperial order. Communication flourished through the Yam postal relay system, a network of stations that allowed couriers to carry messages swiftly across vast distances. Diplomats, merchants, and scholars moved freely, sharing ideas and discoveries that would shape the Renaissance centuries later. For the first time in history, the East and West were connected under one vast system of law, culture, and exchange. The world was shrinking, and the Mongols had built the bridge. As the 14th century unfolded, the unity forged by Genghis Khan began to wane. Rivalries among Khans fractured the empire into separate states: the Yuan in China, the Golden Horde in Russia, the Ilkhanate in Persia, and the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia. Though divided, their shared heritage remained unmistakable. Despite its decline, the Mongol Empire reshaped the world. It revolutionized warfare, promoted global trade, spread technologies, and connected civilizations that had long stood apart. The flow of goods, knowledge, and culture would forever change human history. And so, the legacy of a boy once abandoned on the steppes lived on. Temüjin, Genghis Khan, forged not only an empire, but a vision of unity through strength and resilience. His name, carved by wind and time, still echoes across the endless grasslands he once called home.